Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I hope you had a good evening, you had a restful night, and not so early morning. And it's glad to see you here again. We are grateful for your presence. We would like to start. We understand what day it is today. We would want to finish as early as possible while still delivering on our mandate. So far, we are 80–90% done, and I understand that the scores are very high, so we've been doing very well. I hope all of us have checked out. In case you have any issues with checking out, please see Mr. Mutembe, who should be around in case you have any issues or aspects that you'd want dealt with. Yesterday I gave an assignment and I asked a simple question on what do people understand with social fences are better off than physical fences when it comes to environment conservation and protection. I don't know whether you have thought through and whether you have preliminary reviews. Professor Scott appears to yes, I could take two responses to just cheer us up and then we move on. Thank you.
Thank you. Just very quickly, about 31 years ago, I was living in a village in Eritrea and learning the language, and we were negotiating a land restoration project on some heavily degraded land. After 6 months, I was called to the village assembly to speak in Tigrinya to the assembly, saying what did we want to do. And there were 700 people there. And they said, well, what exactly and where? So we had 3 villages, 250,000 indigenous trees that they agreed, plus some eucalypts for poles. The Ministry of Agriculture said, if you're going to invest that much money in seedlings, you must fence them. The villagers said to the Ministry of Agriculture, which is not an easy thing to do in Eritrea because it's quite a strong society, quite a strong government, they said, if we can't protect these trees ourselves, they're not worth protecting. We don't want fences. So they used paint. The schools and the children were instructed by the elders, don't go into these areas, there are seedlings. If you're herding animals, herd them around, don't go through. In 2019, I went back. We have 5% mortality off of more than 250,000 trees with no fences, because the children still, even today, children unborn 31 years ago do not herd their animals through those trees because everybody agreed, the church agreed, the mosque agreed, the villagers agreed. No fences still. A little bit of stealing, a little bit of snapping of branches, a little bit of grazing, but 5% mortality in 31 years, and it's a permanent plot today with no fences.
Thank you. Thank you very much. A very good live experience and evidence of social fences. We could hear and then I'll make a comment. And on this side as well, please. Thank you.
For social fences, in terms of conservation and land use practice, social fences encourage more sense of ownership, they encourage more use of more responsibility, and also they encourage communal involvement in conservation of resources such as forests. Whereas when you look at physical fences, we are looking at the physical barriers that are being constructed between the community that is using the resource and the resource itself, and they may be a source of conflict. They may also distract wildlife corridors, wildlife habitats, and also interrupt the way of living of the local communities. Yeah, that's my take.
Thank you very much. We could have this one more hand there. And Kyoko, of course.
I think for me, good morning everyone. I think for me, I would see it from a general perspective with a simple definition of integrity, which is doing what is right even when no one is watching. Just having that sense of ownership and realizing that we are doing it for ourselves, it benefits us. We don't need to have someone watching us to just do the right thing or even conserve, because the effect will come back to us. Yeah, thank you. Kyoko, this is yours. I can see you are running away from it.
Okay, Polycarp, you can wrap it up.
Let me leave it to you to wrap it up.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All of you are right. And that statement in itself, and when we attended a conference and someone said that, it's a very deep, short sentence, very short sentence, but it carries a lot of weight if you think about it more critically. Like Professor Scott has said, and I think it came up in a conversation where we were discussing beyond formal law. And the question that we kept asking at that time is to what, whereas law, formal law, the formal institutions of law have influence over our lives, traffic lights, criminal laws, environmental protection laws. The question is, to what extent do they influence the overall behavior of human beings? And the example that kept coming up, and I think Professor Mbote brought it up yesterday, is that I want to believe, and I believe we do not go littering around. You don't go throwing litter around. And if you ask, including some people who have never been into a law class or into even to a university, and the question is, they don't litter because the law says don't litter, or they don't litter because there are other reasons, okay? So if we insist on Environment Management, Conservation and Management Act of 1999, MCA, that would, and county bylaws that would prohibit littering around, the question, the issue is that we don't even know that they exist sometimes, but you find them religiously reprehensible, morally reprehensible, culturally reprehensible, or you just think that it is wrong to do it. And I think that was the point, in terms of it is better to have social fences, socio-cultural norms, the values that hold societies together, contributes to environmental protection in terms of participatory, because if you are to create social fences, then you have to involve people, like Professor Scott said. You encourage participation, you encourage ownership, you also bring out the close relationship between people and the environment, and most importantly, you don't need police power following people around to implement it. So it comes out naturally, and I think that's the strongest advantage of these aspects. So it's good that you think through it and implement it whenever you get a chance. Thank you very much. I was talking about that, so I gear you up and get your thought-provoking topics. Yesterday we said that we are at a very democratic conference. We try by all means, and we appreciate your brilliant ideas over the last 2 or 3 days. We would like to start with setting up the theme of next conference, okay? Still geared towards access to justice, but we would want to hear your thoughts, and we said that we come with thoughts this morning about the proposal on the next, what people would want to engage with in the next conference. We are going to get into 3 groups. If you could please start with number 1, and then we go number 1, 2, 3, number 1, 2, 3, very quickly. Number 1s will join here. Number 2s will go there. Number 3s will come here, reduce your proposals into, come up with proposals, and then we see which one carries. And please have a rapporteur who will tell us what topics or proposals you've come up with, and then we will collectively see which one has the majority of the people.
Where are you placing me? This is Ogada online. Where are you placing me?
Oh, there's
I'm still a
someone
member
online.
of the conference.
You are in the same group as Dr. Aura. And
God bless you, sir.
Thank you very much, Ogada. We will please try to reduce your topmost 3 proposals. So each group will come and present their 3 topical proposals. We will then take a recount and see which one carries the day. So please, if you could start. Gentleman walking out is number 2. One. Anyone that we've left out? Oh, yes. Professor? Yes, Prof is working on, yeah. With Ogada. At the back, we have numbers. Okay, number 1, please, Polycarp, if you could stand. Alvin, number 2, Professor Goodran, number 3. Polycarp, Alvin, you could go at the center, and Professor Goodran on my right. All number 1s, please come to this side. Number 2s, number 3s. 3 topics, you have 15 minutes. 15 minutes, we are excited to hear about your very interesting and brilliant topics for the next conference. Thank you very much. Please, let's hurry up.
3. Morning, how are you? Number 1, in case you forget. Number 3, this is the other side. Number 2, the other side.
Part of public participation is active citizens. Number 1 here, number 2 where Alvin is, number 3 where Professor Goodlan is. We have been talking about involving local communities, public participation. Being active is part of them. Thank you. Okay. 30 seconds. Rapporteur should be putting a last full stop on their topics. Will we start settling down? Mr. Evans Ogada's group with the Dean, Dr. Aura, Professor Gilbert, Cynthia, and Mr. Motembei will go first. So, if Mr. Oganda, if you could get ready. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have to close it here. We are very encouraged by the active participations we can see. We have to bring it to an end. Allow democracy in your group to work. Okay. Unfortunately, we have very strict timelines, but thank you very much for the engagement. We can see how active you are, which is good. If we could please start settling. Let me get rapporteurs of each group. The doors are closed. Thank you very much. Mr. Mutembe, you've noted group number 2 deserves an award. Oh. Thank you. If we could have group 1 and group 3, please lap up. Allow democracy in your groups to work. Group 1, can I get an, oh, you are done. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's get settled. Thank you. Thank you. Please get settled. Rapporteurs, please get ready to present your findings. Thank you very much. We have Anita, who will be typing out as you give your remarks. Let's see how creative people have gotten. Just a recap. In the first, I'm not sure if forming part of smaller groups was part of the plan. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Since the conference started in 2019, these days sounds very odd. In 2020, the first conference in December 2020 was strengthening access to justice through legal aid. We had very interesting conversations. I believe we got a journal out of it, and I have gone through it. In 2021, again, participants suggested that we have access to justice in the context of socio-economic crisis. Again, we have journal output out of it. Then in 2022, the proposed topic which was delved into was democracy and access to justice during electioneering period in the 21st century. And we had very, very good, interesting discussions. So let's see how creative, how innovative people have come up with the topics, which will be the basis of our next conference. Mr. Ogada, you will start with, let's see how creative you got. If you got your group, you gave your group a name, so you'll give your group a name, and then you tell us the three topics that you came up with and one sentence justification for each of them. Thank you. Mr. Ogada, if you could proceed.
Just a minute. Good morning, everyone. Good to be here again. Am I able to share, or I'll just continue without the sharing?
We can enable you to share. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, being that access to justice is usually the theme for this conference, and climate justice and climate change is a recurring concern, I will propose on behalf of my team two topics, two theme areas. Number one, I will propose this as our
Mr.
theme.
Ogada, sorry, my apologies
Yes.
to interrupt you. What group name did you give your group?
I'm in the same group with Dr. Aura and Professor, I forget the name, but I'm in the
diaspora
same group with
Okay.
Dr. Aura. That's group one?
Diaspora group.
We are called diaspora, okay. I'm actually in the diaspora, so forgive me for being out.
Please
Anyway,
take
so this is my proposal, that we have the theme, access to justice and climate change, ensuring equitable legal protections in the era of climate change. That is theme number one. Now, under this theme, I propose that we have subtopics that can fall under this theme. It's a rich area that can be explored. We can look at the right to a safe and healthy environment, identifying barriers to justice in climate-related matters. Then number three, the role of courts and legal mechanisms in climate justice. Number four, climate litigation and public interest. Number five, access to justice for vulnerable populations. Number six, international legal frameworks and cooperation. Number seven, climate justice and education, climate justice, education and empowerment. So you see the theme number one, access to justice and climate, ensuring equitable legal protections in the era of climate change. It provides us with about 7 or possibly more topics that can be examined in that theme alone. I also propose on behalf of my group a second theme, access to justice and climate. Case studies in legal empowerment for climate justice, access to justice and climate, case studies in legal empowerment for climate justice. Now, here we can examine indigenous land rights and climate protection. We can look at the examples of the Amazon forest, for example, how the indigenous communities in Brazil have endeavored to protect their lands from illegal deforestation, and even the example of the Ogiek in Kenya. We can look at environmental health and community rights. That is a second area that we can look at. We can also look at holding corporations to account. We've had enough cases, the Shell case from Nigeria, the agenda case in Netherlands, we can look at that. Youth climate activism, that is an area that we can look at under this topic, under this theme rather. Climate displacement and refugee rights. There's been a whole lot of argument that the Refugee Convention needs to be looked at anew to include climate refugees as a possible claimants for the position of refugee. These are questions that we can look at in light of this case from New Zealand. The citizen of Kiribati, Iaone Tetiota, and we can probably critique such cases and other cases and possibly ask ourselves, are refugees possible claimants to, climate refugees possible claimants to refugee status? Community-led action, we can look at efforts by communities, individual communities like the Ogiek, those who live in the Mau forest, what they have been trying to do in terms of climate change and mitigation and forest conservation. Those will be my contributions on behalf of my group, the two themes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Very well thought out topics, including the justifications for it, and the scope, proposed scope of each of the topics. You also appear to, okay, diaspora group. We clap for the rapporteur. Very well, very well, very well, very good job done. Can we group, we can get what I called group one. They will tell us what they came up with.
Thank you. Okay. In group one, we had a number of issues also, and a number of suggestions, which we will. Our group name is Group 1. And we had a number of aspects we could share with you. The first one we had is the issue of procedural rights, and actually we had a number of issues, but we decided that we need to break it down or to put it in a theme, a larger theme, which we've been hearing of the poly crisis. So we decided that with the poly crisis we need to put it in a manner that we have a poly crisis in the with regards to governance issues in Kenya. In that we have issues to do with gender issues, especially if you look at what has been happening around, especially on the issue of protests, the civil actions, the youth, the women have been participating a lot these days in the governance issues, and we've seen also the issues of we have the issues of also the food crisis. There's also the issue of food crisis in Kenya, where we have seen a lot of banning of indigenous foods, punitive measures on the food production on the farmers, and this brings an issue, will later bring an issue of food crisis in Kenya, because you are limiting people on what they're supposed to do. And you know, in as much as we want to bring about new technologies in the food sector, we also understand that we need to embrace, for lack of a better word, the traditional food systems. And this way of making farmers to pay, introducing punitive measures to food, and we called it, for some reason, food colonialism, is an issue, is a big issue in the country, and we need to have it as a topic of discussion, or a topic where we can raise some issues on the same, so that we don't have to eliminate, one of our members said we don't have to eliminate the issue of misheveve. You know, misheveve can disappear at the end of the day. So, so another issue is, of course, technology. On the issue of technology, we need to have also the changes. There's been a lot of changes on policy legislations, and we need on technology. The policy legislations have been varied in the country, and we need to put them up, bring ideas on how to streamline them, and then also commitments on the policy recommendations that we've been giving. We've been giving a lot of suggestions and policy recommendations, so we have to streamline them in a way that they are able to be used or understandable to the political class or even to the society. Another issue we discussed is the procedural rights, climate change and environmental protection. These procedural rights are with regards to the issue of public participation, access to information. That was, I think, discussed by a bit discussed by the diaspora group. Then you have youth rights, inclusion in governance, and under the youth rights and inclusion in governance systems, we realized that there was an example given that the IMF actually gave a policy statement and advised Kenya that coming into the next years, they need to include the youth so much into the management of the country or running of the country, the political class, so that if they don't include the youth, and the youth, you know, covers the larger population, they'll have a crisis. They'll continue having a crisis, and having a political crisis, it can run down the country. Then I think most of the topics covered ran around the youth issue, issue of youth governance and social justice and advancing social justice. Then another issue was about the redefinition of a child with regards to governance issues, because right now we have, we think that we are, the youth or the children are so young to make governance issues or statements or to lead the country. So one of our members, and we suggested that we need to redefine or include the children in governance issues, in that we redefine the age limit of children with regards to governance issues, so that these people have a say in the governance aspects. Another issue that came out is the economic risks, the economic justice systems. And there has been an issue of economic collapse, or if we don't wake up, we can have an economic collapse in the issue, especially with regards to Bangladesh, where we had an economic breakdown, and there has been many issues with regards to economic issues, economic justice, because there is economic collapse where there are poor governance, police issues, the public-private partnerships, civil society in action, and even sensitization of Kenyans with regards to economic justice. So this should be considered also, so that everyone knows or everyone understands what economic justice entails, and they can use it in a proper manner. Thank you.
Please clap for them. They came up with very good issues, and they decided to retain the name Group 1. What I called Group 2. Group 2, who is the rapporteur? Please give us the name you came up with. And if you have typed out please send them to the follow-up email. We have access to that. We are happy to project it, but also for purposes of record on the topics that came up. Thank you. Please welcome them.
Good morning. I think ours is just group 2. We didn't have a specific name. There are a couple of topics we came up with. There are 3 in number. Did you receive the email? Did you receive it, the email? Okay. I will continue talking. The first one was intangible cultural heritage and access to justice, which we thought about the custom, cross-generational learning, and how all these matters intertwine about culture and how people live, and all this, if they have access, maybe the barriers that make them not participate fully, and such kind of things mostly in the society at grassroots level, trying to involve the society to come up and get involved with what is really happening there at the top. I can say bottom up, as Dr. Aura said it yesterday. Then the second one was marginalized and vulnerable groups in access to justice, where we are going to dig deeper in matters of gender, and then communities like LGBTQ, the disabled, the youth, and generally marginalized communities, their barriers or even lack of awareness or access to the justice. The last one was technology and economic perspectives in access to justice, where in technology, upcoming technology like AI, power technology, and other innovations, mostly mobile innovations and all that. And then in the economic perspectives, we are looking at the industries and their role, maybe if they are contributing or they're helping the communities at the grassroots level, and also something to do with the economic integration. Yes, that is what we discussed. Thank you.
Have group 3.
Group 3 was very mindful that today is Friday, so they have 4 points and 4 points only. My name is Marianne. The first one is environmental sustainability and AI. Here we're talking about the role of AI in advancing environmental conservation and access to justice. The second one was on integrity and accountability in environmental justice. So the first one was environmental, okay, yeah, you got it. So integrity and accountability in environmental justice. And then the third one was pollution and environmental justice. And under pollution, we talked about waste management, the circular economy, you know, everything surrounding pollution. So we wanted it to be as broad so that people can expound it in their papers. And then the last and final one was renewable energy versus human rights. Of course, we have a lot of talk surrounding renewable energy and how does that affect, you know, us, right? When we talk about transitioning to clean energy, what about the young shosho who is just using a stove, or the 3 stones, you know, how does that affect her? So that was that.
Thank you very much. Precise, very precise. Thank you very much. You've taken note of that. And group 3. We are done. I appear not to have gotten the memo that today is a Friday. I am Wafula Chebukati. All right, thank you very much. We are compiling the topics, but there appears to generally, if I got people correct, we think that environment is an issue that I think appeared to come up again. Okay, if I look at it, environment appears to be a topic coming up in, I think, in every group. Yeah, there appears to be a general. Okay, let's see. Yes. If you could download the diaspora group memo and then we look at it. We want to include all the topics here, and then we will see those that we will pick, those that we will merge. The top, we will go all the way until we get to the final topic. As we do that, technology, AI also appears to be a topic coming up. If we could have that projected. Okay, and the diaspora group went into details. They appear to have a theme, and then they have proposed topics to be explored under it. So again, environment, access to justice in the climate change scene, or environment itself. They have proposed right to a safe and healthy environment. And this is timely in the sense that it's now 2 years since it was adopted at the UN level. It's good to see what people would come up with in terms of conceptual and normative content, identifying barriers to access to justice in climate-related matters, role of courts and legal mechanisms in climate change justice, what courts can do, noting that we have had a peak of courts being required to adjudicate on climate change matters. And then we have climate litigation and public interest law, the intersection between public interest and climate litigation. And finally, access to justice for vulnerable populations. So we have international legal frameworks and cooperation, again under the theme of climate change. Then we have access to justice and climate change, case studies in legal empowerment for climate justice. This topic seeks to collate case studies of what so far has come up. Then there are suggested topics. Please scroll down. Indigenous rights and climate protection. Then holding corporations accountable. Again, these are case studies. Environmental health and community rights. Please scroll. Youth climate activism. I think that came up in two other groups. Displacements and refugees. Community-led climate action. The study of Mau forest conservation efforts. So thank you very much. We could reduce for diaspora, you could, the rapporteur, someone. Please pick up those two themes and place them in the general group, and then we look at the topics as so copy the first theme and the second theme and place it in the Word document that you had all the groups in. The second one. Okay. You can delete access to justice and climate change. Sorry. It's possible to have all the groups now appearing. You could reduce the font or something for all the groups. Okay, okay. What we will do is we will select those most occurring, those that we can combine from different groups, we will combine them and reduce the proposals. So I see access to justice and climate change, so anything that have Polycarp, you could write for me as she. So we have access to justice as and climate change as a topic. Okay, we can agree on what format that would take. I think that's a theme. Then we group one had procedural rights. Was it procedural rights in the context of environment? So that would also fit there. Okay, group 2. Group 2 had marginalized and vulnerable groups in access to justice, technology, cultural heritage, and access to justice. Okay. Group 3 had environmental sustainability, there was integrity and accountability, environmental justice, pollution and environmental justice, renewable energy versus human rights. Okay. I think those, if you agree, they could fit into, they fit into climate. So we have access to justice, climate, and in environmental context. And then we could group all of them. Yeah. Okay, group one, in terms of gender issues, it's in the context of environment or generally? Group one. Okay, let's give the okay, that's better. Thank you. Okay, yes, they are easy to deal with. So you will type at the bottom, below the table, the themes that are you're carrying. So for instance, access to justice, climate change, and in an environmental context, that's a topic that cuts across. Anyone else with a suggestion on how we could group them? Technology, group one, group two, group three had environmental sustainability and AI. So that could be the second group. The second general theme, technology, AI, and environment. No, in the second. Okay, so we have technology, environment, and AI. Okay, another emerging topic. Yes. Public participation. Okay. We can categorize it into access to justice to mean the substantive justice itself, but also the procedural steps to get there. Okay. Now, I say that because access to justice, for instance, would involve access to information, public participation, and access to courts. But I hear you. Okay, help me categorize them. Which other groups that we could merge? Marginalized and vulnerable groups in access to justice. I think, was it broad or it was specific to a certain category? Was it in environment? Was it in governance? This is group 2. Alvin, this was your group? Or in the context of environment and governance generally, okay? So marginalized and vulnerable groups in access to justice. Does marginalized groups include youth? So we could take number 4, youth rights inclusion in governance, and then it will fit into the marginalized groups. Children issues as well? Okay, and then we have, marginalized, okay. Then we have economic justice coming up in number 6, group 1, and number 3, group 2, and then, yeah, so we could have economic justice as a theme coming in through technology or so economic justice as a theme. Public participation, and public participation as a theme, or if we put it under, public participation was generally in all, Professor. It was generally not specific to environment, right? Yes. Okay. Okay. Okay, we agree. We agree with that view. If you have environmental sustainability, then it includes economic aspects of it. Economic sustainability as a concept in it. I was asking group 1, the public participation was in the context of environment or generally in governance? Okay. Okay, if we agree, we can put it as a subtopic in access to justice and climate change as a topic. Yes.
To citizens who were saying they have been overtaxed. And then we have issues with government overborrowing, and future generations are going to suffer with debt payment. And so we looked at, throughout this year, we saw it's a lot of issues to do with economic justice, and also even public participation and economic justice. The views of the people did not count. So that's why we really talked about economic justice.
Thank you. Maybe I could add. Thank you. Maybe to add, yeah, I think I agree with both of them in that instead of putting environmental sustainability, then we can put sustainability or government, not sustainability in governance. Yeah, so that we can accommodate all of them.
Okay, so we can have sustainability in governance, and then take AI as a theme on its own.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll have, yes. Okay, so tech, and then yes, tech, AI, all combined. Yeah. Okay. So that if we do that, then we are able to explore technology and environment, technology and economic perspectives, environmental sustainability and AI. So it gives us allowance to do that. And then public participation suggested as a theme on its own. Okay. Create another for public participation. Okay, we have narrowed it down to 5. We have access to justice and climate change, which would encompass environment as well. We have sustainability in governance. We have